P-A-R-T-Y-M-O-M. It is party time, Mom. Welcome to another episode of the Chad Prather Show here in the Mothership Studio 22. The man, the myth, the legend. He's really not a myth. He's sitting right over there. The puppet master himself, Mark, driving this starship into the ether.
That's right. Into the ether.
Into the ether. I don't even know if that's the... That's kind of where we live. Just kind of out there in the ethereal space of mental prowess and ignorance. Somewhere between them. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere between ignorance and mental prowess.
Yeah, I tend to lean toward one area in particular, though.
Yeah. I've got a new nickname for Keith. Keith Malinak sitting here in the hot seat. We're going to go over the news and topics that matter in your life today on this episode. Keith, from now on, when you're here, you are Special Keith.
Special Keith. I like it.
You are Special Keith.
I'll take it.
We were talking about it yesterday. I was like, what am I going to call Keith? After watching that episode the other day with you in here with Jade on, that was fun episode. Uh-huh. And it was. I loved watching you slip into the depths of inebriation. It was fun. It was great to watch that happen. There's a process to it. Cheers. Party time, Mom. Stay horn. And so it was good having you over there. So anyway, you're going to hang out with us. I want to talk to you about a couple of things. And then, of course, Party Foul Steve.
Hey.
Sitting over there in a Steve Helms Band T-shirt. Does he pay you to rep him like that?
No.
He should.
This was one that I found in the trash can here in the studio, and I'm like, this is a good shirt, so I can turn it inside out if I need to. I'm not even worried.
Yeah, he'll watch this episode, and he'll be wanting me to take him to lunch tomorrow. Steve Helms Band. He just got back from Mexico.
So
he was on vacation.
Vacations.
He does it like 6 times a year. Yeah. It's crazy. And Candice, the queen of the Ethiopians. Candice didn't want to be on camera today, but I said, no.
I know.
No.
I'm actually upset with her.
You can't. Why?
Because I'm supposed to be sitting over there.
No, you're here,
I'm
going
to be in the hot seat.
You're in the hot seat.
I was told there was free drink. You tricked me, set the trap, and now I'm in the hot
you got the free drink, but at some point in time, you got to pay the piper, baby.
And the trap worked perfectly.
That's right. Snap. There it is. And but I want to talk to you guys about a few different things. First thing I want to tell you, though, go to watchchad.com. I got a big announcement that's going to be coming up here pretty soon, just probably in the next week and a half. I've got a big thing when it comes to what we're doing with live shows and tour dates and things like that. You can still find the dates that are available. We're going to be all the way across the country. We're going to be Ogden, Utah. Then we've got a show in Missoula, Montana coming up in August 13th, I think, Steve, or 12th. One or the other. Go to watchchad.com. Find out. We're having a big time. So we've kind of taken a 2-week break from the road, which has been nice for the summer. And listen, we're ready to get back on the road. We're going to be looking forward to that. So big shows coming, but big announcements coming. We also have a brand new merchandise. Some guy, I said merch the other day, and guys like, is that the lazy word for saying merchandise? Yeah, whatever. And that's the hip and cool way. Yeah. You know, if you live out on the road, man, I'm selling merch. No, but yeah, we've got a new merchandise site that's coming out. Should be launched this week. And looking forward to that. We got some fun new designs. We're going to have one shirt has Studio 22 on it. It's going to have Silent Herbert, which Silent Herbert hasn't been on set for a little while, but you know, Herbert the Silent Deer. We're going to have to figure out a way to bring Herbert back. Too many people miss Herbert.
Yeah.
They miss Herbert.
Find him.
Yeah, Herbert's out just outside the door there of Studio 22, but we got some of that. We got some Party Time Mom shirts. We've got all kind of fun stuff. We got whole Party Foul shirts coming out. They're going to be on there. It's going to be fun.
There'll be nice ones you can, wear in front of your mom.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There'll be some sweet ones that your mom doesn't have to guess what the letters stand for. So go check it out. Go check it out and hang out. Also subscribe to blazetv.com/humor. Use promo code Chad. Get the first month free, and you get the whole year a whole lot cheaper if you use that promo code. So anyway, what did y'all talk about on Pat Unleashed this morning? Anything exciting, or were y'all just doing morning radio? That's
Baltimore.
Let's talk about Baltimore a little bit.
Okay.
So did you find President Trump tweets out this thing that says, okay, the place is crap. It's not a surprise to anybody. Everybody knows Baltimore's crap. I had friends that I used to do business with. They were both graduates at the University of Maryland. They used to tell me, they said, when you go to freshman orientation at the University of Maryland, they will tell you that if you live near Baltimore, you will be mugged at some point in time in your 4 years at this school. You will be mugged. It's in their orientation. Wow. They told them how to prep for it, how to deal with it when it happened. But they said, you will be mugged if you walk on the streets anywhere around Baltimore in the 4 years. Now, is that racist to say that, or is that just a sheer fact that statistics and numbers say this is going to happen to you?
Okay, well, first of all, Baltimore has, I think he's an assistant police commissioner who just started in April, moved from New Orleans. He was going to go clean up Baltimore. He and his wife were mugged last week. And so welcome to the party, pal. And so this is, it's
funny,
absolutely
but not funny, but it's
based
funny.
in fact.
Yeah.
And I think this whole explosion over Trump's tweet, come on. He said it's rat infested, which it absolutely is. The mayors before him have said it. Bernie Sanders has called it a third world, it represents a third world nation.
Yeah. Bernie went on to say that the life expectancy in Baltimore is lower than third world countries.
I saw that today in North Korea.
Yeah, North Korea.
Exactly. So it's not like Trump is unique in his observations of fact in Baltimore. It's just the fact that he's Trump, and therefore anything he says is going to be made into something that it's not.
Yeah. So you look at this. Now, Elijah Cummings, I'm not a fan of him. I mean, come on. The guy's been in office, 23 years? Something
Long
like
enough.
that, representing that district, 23 years. He's done nothing to clean the place up. In fact, he's become a millionaire. I don't understand. I'm going to have to go into public office. I mean, I'm thinking that's my retirement plan, is I got to go into public office just so I can do nothing to represent people and make $1 million somehow. I don't understand how that works.
Absolutely. And it's not like Trump just picked on Elijah Cummings out of the blue. Elijah Cummings has spent the last several weeks with these congressional hearings with Border Patrol agents saying how, America's better than this, the way we're treating these immigrants. Children are sitting in their own feces. And so Trump's like, you know what? Look at your own district, man. And first of all, it is not true, his observations of the Border Patrol, the facilities. I mean, there was just a thing we played on Pat's show today where they get leisure time. They get 2 to 3 hours. I love how the guy was like, yeah, they get 2 to 3 hours rec time outside to play soccer, and maybe more if their scheduling allows. They have Xbox access.
Yeah.
They play cornhole. They have recreational facilities. These are nice places that they're hanging out in.
Yeah. And there are also places they don't have to be.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not like we invaded their country, captured them, dragged them back to America, and said, now you're going to play the Xbox and air conditioning.
See, my tweet popped back up to the surface from a couple of weeks ago where I said, it's not a concentration camp if you can avoid it by just walking the other direction. So that is the truth. They don't have to be there. And that was the point of Trump's tweet, because Elijah Cummings, of course, was blasting him on that. And then he said, look, these people have it better than the folks living in squalor in West Baltimore in your district. And it's a trash hole. They did a whole documentary on the rats of Baltimore. They did a whole documentary on the rat problem.
Wow.
They're saying there's so many rats, and I don't understand how this happens, but I read a headline that said there's so many rats that they're actually causing streets to collapse because they're digging under them. I mean, they're digging under there. They're undermining the entire city.
Yeah. And in fact, when Pat lived there, he talked about on his show this morning, this was over 20 years ago he lived there. And he said at that time they were saying that the rat to human ratio was 20 million to 2 million. So it was 10 to 1. The rats were outnumbering them then. Who knows what it is now?
And these are some monster rats.
They were walking down. He said he and Glenn were walking down this alleyway between these two buildings. They were looking for some place. And there were signs warning about the rats and the rat infestation, blah, blah, blah. And he said the people had driven through this alleyway and there were crushed, smushed rats everywhere because that was how terrible it is there. It's absolutely fair. It's absolutely accurate to call it a rat-infested hole of a city.
Listen, I have been in many third world countries and spent extended periods of time in these third world countries. And I would rather go there. I would rather go there than to Baltimore. I mean, honestly, Baltimore, and let's name it off here, because you've got my friend Jeff Foxworthy, as we all, everybody knows Jeff Foxworthy. He's got, and I stole it and I put it on a tweet this weekend where he said, if you go 20 miles out of any big city, you're in a red state. And that's basically the truth.
Yeah.
Because nobody says, I want to live in the big city. Everybody wants to get out of the city.
Yep.
If you're young and single and you're trying to do that and you want to be, okay, so maybe you want to do urban living. Nobody wants to live in the inner city. These big cities, I don't care which one you name, they're all run by Democrats.
And have been.
So this lady tried to come back and she said, well, Baltimore has problems, but you know what? So does Houston, and so does Detroit, and so does Los Angeles, and so does San Francisco. And it's like, yeah, no, they're all run by Democrats. Every single one of them.
Yep. And have been for generations.
Yeah.
Chicago, Detroit, you name it. They all have very similar problems, and they have terrible crime. And it's places where progressive policies have become a way of life.
Yeah.
And it's a way of social engineering that has failed. And it's time these places wake up and change the direction of their communities.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, living in the suburbs and even beyond now is so worth it. The commute is so
100%. You know, and you've got okay, Trump doubled down, and this is airing on a Tuesday night. So yesterday morning, Monday morning, Trump doubled down when Al Sharpton posted a picture in the D.C. airport. I don't know if he was at Reagan or Dulles. Who knows? Probably whatever. And so he's on the escalator, and he says, I'm tired. I came in from Atlanta. I'm headed to Baltimore, going through D.C., and, you know, but I got to be there, right? Got to do it. Duty calls, basically. Yeah. And, of course, Trump tweeted, and I'm like, Trump is so. I'm like, could you ever just back off one time?
No, he cannot.
He can't. Like, why do you love this undue pressure of doing that?
I call them unforced errors.
Yeah.
If he would just sit back, literally, if he would take his phone and set it aside for one calendar month and just let the left destroy themselves and do his work for him, he would be in so much better position. But instead, he has to always push back. But that, again, is what got him elected in the first place.
It's what got him elected, and you know, I read it, and when it came out, and I was like, oh, come on, dude, just let it go for a minute, you know, because you're going to talk about how Sharpton hates the police and hates whites, and you know, we used to go to the
he hates
boxing.
Taxes.
We used to get, he hadn't paid the taxes either. What's that, $4 million or something? But he says, you know, we used to go to the boxing matches together with Don King, and he loved Trump. You know, I love when he talks about himself in the third person. You know, he loved Trump. And so, anyway.
And now I think the tweet today says, he didn't say he hates, he just says hates white people.
Yeah.
And now we've got round 2 of this fun.
Yeah, here you go. But apparently he loves it, and you're right, that's what got him elected, because people are tired of the BS. They want to get through the smoke and mirrors, and they want to deal with this stuff. But you take, so I tweeted something over the weekend. I said, you don't have to worry about Baltimore. It's only got 10 more years, because the people who live in the community of West Baltimore will be displaced by illegal Hispanics moving in if things continue the way the Democrats want them. And so, and Elijah Cummings won't have a job. He'll if he's not dead already. I mean, the guy's what? He's been there for 250 years, right? So he's, you know, if he's not taking a dirt nap, he's going to be displaced anyway, because he's going to be overrun. Because another thing that I tweeted, and is so true, is if you look at the left is so pandering to illegals right now, they know that the black vote is on the plantation, so to speak. They don't have to worry about them. They've got those reeled in. They've already stolen their minds. They've already stolen their votes because of the handouts, the welfare states, the things that they've promised, the things that they don't deliver on. And they don't deliver on them, because if they did, then it wouldn't continue to be in a welfare state.
Right.
You're not getting richer by being ruled by the left. You're going further into squalor. They've already captured your mind. And I had this lady said, oh, well, please tell me a white man's opinion. I said, well, I'm doing that. I said, you know, you don't have to don't try to put out the fire by throwing water on the smoke alarm. I'm just the messenger. I'm just telling you that they're so focused on illegals that illegals are going to displace you in terms of who's getting what. When it comes to government promises and fulfillment, it's going to all go to Hispanics in the Hispanic community, because they've already captured you.
Yeah, and this,
you're in the boat.
Right. This was by design, too, to capture this base. This is part of the grand design that progressives have been going toward for a century. And with the Great Society in the 60s, they absolutely replaced the father in black homes.
Right.
And they told black families, black women, hey, look, you know what? We will be your father figure in your family, and we will take care of you. And that's what has happened. And so these communities have come to depend on the government. And like you said, they have not delivered. They've only perpetuated these problems and made them worse.
Yeah.
And it's tragic. And it's so avoidable. But government gets involved and a mess is made, and then they try to handle it, and it just spirals.
Yeah, and I'm giving rough statistics here when I say that in 1965, 25% of black homes had a father in them. Today, 75 to 80% of black homes don't have a father in them. And look at that. So you're exactly right. They promised him something that we don't need a father in this household. And that's gone. And I know, and everybody wants to balk at it and say, oh, look at these white guys who are talking about the black community, stuff like that. Why not? You're an American. I'm an American. This is an American community. It concerns me. If we're going to share this space together, it's my issue too. It doesn't matter about the color of my skin. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. We're Americans. We share this space. What happens in your community affects me too. What happens in my community affects you. If it doesn't, then quit about it, because quit telling me that the white man's holding you down. Why are you telling me that if my community doesn't affect you? We're symbiotic in this thing together. It doesn't matter about the melanin. It doesn't matter the skin color.
Yeah, we can care about people that don't look like us, and just because we point out the problems that are causing their issues in their community doesn't make us racist by default.
Right.
It means that we care and we're taking the time to point out what is happening.
Well, when I did that tweet about the black community is going to be harmed by this focus on illegal Hispanics coming in, people were saying, oh, well, you're a white man, you can't. And I just said, prove me wrong. Just prove me wrong. Oh, no, we want to hear what your opinion is. Well, I just gave you my opinion. Oh, please, why are you deflecting? Tell us what. And I said, I'm asking you to prove me wrong. Nobody would do that. And so finally I said, look, when you have 55% of the African-American population being depleted by abortion, and 80% of all Planned Parenthood facilities are within a walking distance of an urban community, it is a genocidal act on the side of the left to keep you down. It is 100%.
Another thing done by design.
Yeah.
Put Planned Parenthood in the urban centers.
Exactly right.
And that was the goal of Margaret Sanger from the beginning.
Yeah.
Is to eliminate the black population.
Exactly. It's a whole eugenics program. And so I told, this one particular girl, I said, look, she's like, oh, well, like you have anything. I said, well, I spent 20 years in West Africa, so I sort of understand. If you want to talk about race, are we talking about race or are we talking about culture? Because race is one thing. They're black too, okay? But we're talking about culture ultimately, because West African culture, Nigerian culture is different from Philadelphia culture, inner city culture, right? Okay. Yep. So if we're talking about culture, it may be that I care. And that's why we're talking about this deal. So again, you do what you want to do, but if you stay on this path the way you're going. Now, is Trump some guy that you're going to hold up as some paragon example and say, wow, man, we really want to emulate this man and his values and his, no. But I got to admit, you look at the numbers, he's done a hell of a lot for the black community.
Right. And I think it was Greg Gutfeld who made this. Yeah, he made that great point with that tweet.
Might be the tweet of the year.
Oh, right. What did he say? He said he's about to execute
a white supremacist.
Execute a white supremacist. He's trying to get a black rapper out of jail in Sweden.
Yep.
He's done so much for the black community with unemployment rates and what were some other points he made? Just anyway, if he's a racist, he's doing a terrible job. He sucks at it.
He sucks at it.
Sucks at being a racist. He's helping the black community at every turn.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that Trump is doing that so many previous presidents, and the frustration is GOP presidents, have failed to do, and it's point out the obvious.
Yeah.
That's all he did with Elijah Cummings' tweets. It's stuff that you and I have been saying for years. Bush didn't tweet that. Bush, he didn't say anything like that. Nobody said anything before that.
You're exactly right.
Pointing out a fact, and it gets a conversation started, and maybe we can put a microscope on Elijah Cummings' district and poor black communities and say, hey, focus on your own neighborhoods instead of worrying about kids at the border.
Yeah. Candace, Steve, thoughts? Anything?
I'm still trying to figure out the rat problem solution. I'm like, you load up a bunch of our guys with some AR-15s. We'll let us
just need 22
go
rifles.
Yeah, 22s. That's fine.
They do that down around New Orleans.
Or What about rat poison? You can buy it on Amazon. I just looked it up. It's like buy it bulk.
Oh, buy bulk.
But you don't buy bulk.
Make a city contract.
You just dump that stuff out and let the rats have it.
What are those little animals? Or those little rodent animals that dig into the levees around New Orleans? They're called
Nutri-rats?
No, sort of, but they're. Whatever. Anyway, there's another name for them. Anyway, but that's what they do. They ride around at night and shine the lights on the levees and just pop them with 22 rifles.
I like that game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's fun.
That sounds like.
And I learned that because they had Steven Seagal. They did this thing where they would take Steven Seagal out, and he would go around with cops. Because he's
sheriff
a cop or sheriff or whatever somewhere in Louisiana. They made him an honorary deal, and so he'd go out and they did a whole documentary show or a reality show.
Field trip to New Orleans.
Steven Seagal.
I like that game.
What, Candace?
There might be a lot of volunteers from Texas who'd be willing to go shoot rats and rodents.
Except they have gun control issues up there, so
never mind.
Maybe that's why they have a rat problem, is because their gun control's so tight.
I had a family member who worked in the DC Baltimore area, and they advised them not to go into Baltimore. They're like, there's nothing you need to see. Don't leave your car there. Your car will not have anything left on it.
What are you going to do?
When you get back. So
God forbid you take the wrong exit traveling through there. I mean, God forbid. And you don't know where you are. You get lost and you can get turned around.
I've been there. Actually,
yeah, I know
Baltimore.
exactly. and I'm sitting here looking at these things, going, "It's not. At no time." It's like years ago. I like to tell the story. Years ago, I had to go down to El Paso. Right, I've normally got the cowboy hat with me, and I'm wearing this white straw hat. I go down there. I rent a car from whatever rental car company. You know what they gave me? They tossed me the keys to a Crown Vic, a black Crown Vic. I didn't know you could rent that. Awesome. And so now here I am in El Paso driving around in a black Crown Vic.
Pimping.
Cowboy hat on and the whole thing. You want to talk about heads turning? There were neighborhoods I was like, I ain't going in there because they immediately thought,
Sounds like somebody drove that from the rental agency in Baltimore.
Only in El Paso, Texas. Only in El Paso. In fact, that makes me nervous. I'm going to take that hat off right now. Makes me nervous. But let's go back to that, because it's a headline that came in this weekend, talked about the GOP as mastered being the party of nothing. And they were compared to the George Costanza Seinfeld episode, wherever they were pitching their sitcom, and they were like, George kept saying, it's not about anything. It's not about anything. And I want to read some of this and get your thoughts on it, because this is I'm going to read some of it. It says, this is reality. It says, people laughed and laughed when Jerry Seinfeld and the crew became multimillionaires over a show that was doing nothing, and said he was the Russian nesting doll of nothing. Open one up and endlessly more nothing. Mm-hmm. You could count on that just like you can count on the GOP for absolutely nothing. And I agree with this wholeheartedly. I've been saying this for a long, long time. We call ourselves conservatives. We haven't conserved anything. We haven't. It's just expanded. Mm-hmm. It says nothing is selling like hotcakes in the Republican Party's Trump reboot. Sure, I know you've been told that it's a racism or fascism or sexism that is captain of the ship, but those falsehoods only add to the allure of the nothingism that's really flying off the shelf. You feel compelled to defend whatever the nothing is so that you can do your part to defeat those who make such claims. You'll make navel-gazing great again. Now listen to this. Just ask Mitch McConnell how this all works. He's secret handshaking himself around Washington, D.C. right now with a literal sales pitch that no Republican president has ever voted out of office for spending too much money. Yes, the Senate leader of the party of smaller government and fiscal responsibility said that. Rush Limbaugh called Trump a genius for believing McConnell and cutting the kind of deal, quote unquote, that Trump himself said he would never cut again several budgets ago. That's some beautiful nothing right there to add to an endless harmony of nothing. Overturn Obamacare? Nothing. Build the wall and secure the border? Nothing. Defund Planned Parenthood? Nothing. The GOP is a masterpiece of nothing. I've said this for a long time. I said, they were so expectant. Paul Ryan and the Republicans were so expecting Hillary Clinton to be president that in 8 years of Obama, they knew Obamacare was coming. They knew the ACA was going to happen. But in 8 years, they had zero plan because they fully expected to lose the 2016 election. So that's the deal. And this goes on to say, get the right audience, though, and you're set for life with that act, because nothing is better than Hillary, right? Nothing is just whatever the doctor ordered, even if you ordered conservatism instead. This is no time to quibble about small details like that. Just shut up, enjoy your nothing, otherwise you'll get nothing, and have to settle for that. So it's true. I mean, how does that strike you? I mean, because I just don't see Republicans. They're the same. They're two sides of the same coin when you look at Republicans. We've always looked at politicians and turned our nose up.
Yeah, there are so many cases. This budget is a case in point. This terrible budget that is passing right now. They're the difference between vanilla and French vanilla in so many ways. And
That's
saw
racist.
something. Oh yeah. Okay. Well. I guess guilty. The deficit. It has grown 15%. Let's see. Under Obama, it was growing at 11% a year, and under Trump, it's growing at 15%.
Yeah.
And he had 2 years of a Republican House to go along with him to get all of this stuff done that you just mentioned from the article. Mm-hmm. Whether it was the wall, whether it was Obamacare. Thank you, John McCain, on that thumbs down vote.
Yep.
Planned Parenthood funding. All this stuff you give total power after they've been screaming for years. Well, we just have, first of all, they didn't have anything, okay? Then, well, now we're just the House. We're just one half of 1/3 of the government. All right, well, then we give you the House and the Senate and the presidency. Well, I mean, you can't even get your own party on board with something as obvious as funding for Planned Parenthood and abortion. There is such a need in this country for other options. It is not, this two-party system is just, I scratch your back and you scratch mine. And at the end of the day, these guys are friends. They're chums. They're buddies.
It's the World Wrestling Federation is what it is. You beat the shit out of each other all night long, and then you go get in a limousine together and go to dinner. It's the same thing. I love the fact you go back to Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, who could sit around and be abject enemies in the political scheme of things, but could still have conversations and talk about it. That was a form of diplomacy and reaching across the aisle, right?
Yeah.
These days, it's, hey, this is a scam going on.
Yes. And
big time scam.
And see, Trump, I never forget the Oval Office visit. You talk about how Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan got together, right? They could have a conversation. Everybody knew that game. Everybody knew how to play it. Whether it was in private or in public, they knew they were all wink, wink, we got this, right? The cameras are rolling now. Trump just blasted that entire setup there. Mm-hmm. And he says he wants to drain the swamp and all this stuff, right? But he gets in there, and you see that even what is supposed to be a photo op cordial conversation between he, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer turned into this little kindergarten squabble. Yeah. Remember this? Where they're in the Oval Office and they're just, sniping at each other. But I think what he has learned is that as brash and as bold as he can be, whether in a speech or on Twitter, at the end of the day, he has still got the GOP to deal with. Yeah. And nothing is getting done. Yeah. And it's sad. It's such a wasted opportunity, the way Obama wasted the opportunity to really solidify the races in this country under his presidency. The GOP's missing out on the chance. They've already lost the House. Yeah. They've missed out on a chance to get good conservative things done. And it's really sad. Calvin Coolidge cut the budget by 50%. All right. Yeah. Trump, try as he might, he's not trying to cut back on spending. But there's a lot of good things that he has tried to do that his own party has stopped him at. Yeah. You got to figure out a way to, if you're going to be conservative, you got to learn how to conserve. And that's just, we're way beyond all that stuff. What was it? Were we talking about that? About going back to pre-Woodrow Wilson days? You got to get back before, because ever since then, it has just grown and grown and grown. It's become a malignant tumor. Yeah, I actually read in a history book once that before the Civil War, every federal employee could fit inside a large house. Yeah. That is fascinating to think that. Yeah. And let me say this, by the way, to those of you who talk conservative but live liberal. What do I mean by that? You're using subsidized health care, you're using subsidized housing, you're using subsidized income, you're using whether it's a welfare thing or whatever. Look, great, fantastic, fine. But I want you to understand, if all of a sudden tomorrow government got small, you'd be screwed.
because we don't realize how dependent on the government we have become. Yeah. We are suckling at the teat of socialism. It really does exist. It's here. And no social, and I still go back, socialized programs, social programs are not socialism. But we are dangerously close to that. Because if you pulled the tit out of our mouth real quick, it would be rough. It would be rough for a lot of us.
A lot of withdrawal going on there.
A lot going on. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of liberals that talk liberal, live conservative. Go out to Hollywood. Find your average millionaire celebrity out there, or person, executive, that works for some studio out there that's hauling in millions. They may talk liberal. They may F Trump all day long. But I'll tell you what, they're living conservative, including gated communities, including armed guards, including alarm systems, including how they spend, how they handle their fiscal responsibility. I promise you.
And they will look for tax breaks wherever they can.
Everywhere they can
They want every social program in the world funded. Anything you can think of. Yes. The government should be providing for that. But they look for their
portfolio is loaded with offshore accounts and Swiss banks. It's the truth, man. And so that's why I say it's one thing to talk it, you gotta live it. And we're not living it. Nobody's ever looked back throughout history, the point I made a little while ago, nobody's ever looked back and said, oh, we just really love politicians, man. Politicians are just the icons of our culture, and we hold them up as these ideals of servant leadership, and we just really appreciate politicians. No, we never trusted politicians. That's part of the deal. You don't trust politicians. They make their promises. And now what are we doing? We're dividing our country over debates over who lied the most and who has so much hate and all this stuff. They are politicians. And not only that, Donald Trump, for whatever he is a guy who blew that whole thing up, because I agree with you. The two-party system sucks. I used to think it made sense when I was a kid. I was naive. I was dumb. These independents would come along and I'm like, you're just screwing up the GOP vote. Well, maybe. But maybe we need to break this thing down.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to have Democrats and Federalists and Whigs, and then Abraham Lincoln comes along.
Abraham Lincoln was a third-party candidate.
Exactly, he's a third-party candidate. And now look what you've got. Mm-hmm. So it's frustrating, man. The GOP is not accomplishing anything.
It's maddening. And what sucks is that as a voter, we're the prey, okay? Politicians are built to divide and conquer us. And we fall into that trap over and over and over again. We don't have conversations with each other. We allow ourselves to be painted on one side. I'm going to be on the red team. You're going to be on the blue team. Yeah. And it's so frustrating.
Let me tell you something. And I think, if I can say this right, it's profound. At least in my mind, it's profound.
All right. Oh, I can't wait. Did I get to judge you on this?
Profundity.
Okay.
It's a profundity, Steve. You know what that means?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm going to find out.
The quality of rhetoric in our public discourse has so diminished itself that we have turned to our emotions in order to defend our convictions. We don't know how to use words anymore. The quality of our rhetoric has so diminished in our public discourse that we use emotions to defend our convictions. And that's one of those things right there where if we don't learn how to talk again, see, that's the thing. And I've said this a million times. Social media has made it where everybody has a voice. Everybody has a platform, whether they should or not, whether they're responsible or not. Used to be we only kept the words for posterity from the kings and the priests and the poets and the prophets and the those guys, the philosophers. With those words we kept. Their words were put in stone. These days, everybody's got a tablet to write on, and it's there forever. We have a digital wall. There's no more cave paintings. There's no more hieroglyphics. We put it on a digital wall, and it'll never go away, and everybody's pouring out every bit of pablum. They're all constitutional scholars. They're all historians.
That in itself is scary.
And it's ridiculous. I mean, if somebody says the wrong thing on a podcast and they use the wrong word for something, good God, they'll spend 30 minutes arguing with each other. I can't believe you said you got 16 bullets in a clip. It's a magazine. God dang it. Shut up.
I like it.
I mean, come on, dude. We're just having fun using euphemisms. Get over yourself with your, I mean, my God, you scholarly experts, get the stick out of your ass and have a little fun. Breathe, people. And by the way, that is my quality discourse rhetoric right there. Get the stick out of your ass.
Yeah.
How about that?
Profundity.
Profundity, Steve.
Yeah.
Pull the profundity out of your butt.
And I'm
Party
sorry
time, Mom.
if this sounds so nerdy because guilty. That's me. It would be just nice if we could just, between the sides on whatever issue, just argue the merits of what it says in the Constitution. Oh, yeah, you know what? Well, the constitutional authority for this is, oh, yeah, well, I read it differently, this. And leave it at that instead of, well, you must want kids to die. No, what the hell? No. And it's just, you can't even have a conversation with anybody that, people have been.
Let's keep talking,
We've
Keith.
been conditioned to A, hate the other side, and B, have no intellectual backing to, like you said, our emotions, okay? And so I think there's one girl on Twitter last week. I forgot what she said. I don't know. But I went to her tweets, and she had just made previous arguments with people. Oh, look at this, a white this and a white that, making decisions about this. And it's just like, seriously, can you please just have a conversation about what we're talking about instead of always dragging some ancillary issue that does not matter into what we're having a conversation about, or at least trying to.
So this guy
there?
tweeted the other day, and I won't say his name. He's a movie guy. He's a Hollywood guy. And, interestingly enough, his account is now unavailable because it's been suspended.
Oh,
look
wait,
at there.
someone from Hollywood got suspended?
Look at that tweet justice right there.
Oh, my
look
gosh.
at Jack showing up with a little Twitter justice.
We found the one leftist that's been blocked by Jack live. This is breaking news, man.
Look at there. The account is temporarily unavailable.
Okay. Well, what was he saying?
Oh,
Now you can tell us who it is.
I love it, dude.
We need to write a story on this.
Look at that. It's Dave Vescio, whatever.
I wish we had gone for a little.
He calls himself a cult movie icon.
Too bad we didn't go with a bigger name, Jack, but we'll get. It's a start. It's a start.
I mean, that's no Alyssa Milano, or whatever freaking name is. Did you see that little blubbering
Where she was
moron crying about
fill in the blank?
the Alyssa Milano blubbering on video about the death penalty being instituted? And, oh my God, talking about you're going to kill actual people. Abortion is theoretical people.
It wasn't a very good act, though. It was kind of poor.
She's everything about her is an act.
Yeah.
So anyway, he made this post that was pretty insulting about, F you guys and all this stuff. Of course, it's always got to have F you. But it said, that white America needs to give back its land that it stole from conquered people, Native Americans. And so I just said, I'm waiting on Dave to give his house and property to a Native American family.
Yeah.
You first.
Go.
Yeah.
Set the
I'm
example.
sure there's some people out there. Then of course you got the people who, Chad, you're a dumbass and it's pretty logical. And then this guy who loves to troll me. And I rarely block people on Twitter until you just get so annoying.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, come on, dude. Let me just end your man crush right here. Okay.
Nice.
Like it's not that I'm conceding anything. I'm just sick of I don't want to.
I don't need those alerts anymore.
This is stupid.
I'm good.
This guy says, and us Dems/libs are waiting on conservative white people to give us your houses to billionaires and Wall Street because you think the only way to be a capitalist nation is for the 1% to have all the nation's wealth. And I'm like, what the hell does that got to do with anything? Like, what are we talking about now?
Again, we can't have a conversation.
Exactly.
Cannot have a
And so
conversation.
then it goes off on this rabbit trail. Well, I'd rather be a capitalist than a communist, earn stuff instead of demanding stuff. Okay. Well, okay. I mean, what are we even talking about at this point? It is ridiculous. I mean, in this stuff, and the insults just go on and on and on. Because I've said over and over again, our founding fathers started this country with this idea that we could have a debate and discourse and come back to this incredible document called the U.S. Constitution and say, okay, I interpret it this way. Well, I interpret it that way. That's why you have denominations of churches. Because, come here, Willie.
Oh, no.
Not Willie,
Whoa.
no. That's why you have church denominations, because people have different interpretations of the Bible.
Right.
But it doesn't mean those churches can't get along.
But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
ironically, it kind of actually fits with this. At the end of the day, all of these churches believed in God, right?
Yeah.
And now, if you can't we can't agree that the Constitution is there to protect God-given rights.
Right.
Right. So now we've got many in this country who think that the rights actually come from the government.
Yeah.
And so that presents quite a large obstacle from the beginning of trying to have a conversation. Okay, well, now you think the government does. Okay. And then you just try to find common ground where you can. And we have forced ourselves into a corner where we have eliminated places where we can agree on things to the point where now we're just at each other's throats. Oh, yeah, well, you're a racist. Wait, what? We weren't even talking about race.
Come here, Sean. Come up here.
Okay,
here.
so...
Come up here.
Hi. There's
sit
a
down.
black man on
down over here.
set. What's happening?
Sit down over here.
Wow,
Watch
Keith.
out.
What do you mean, wow?
He's Chinese, Jamaican.
No, he's black. He bliggity black.
I like this shirt.
I like that shirt. Why you keep bringing shirts that I like and I can't get? Is that $17.91 or Levi's? That's Levi's. I can get one of those. Look at him. You need to lose one more button, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Got a lot going on under there.
You grew up in New York.
Yes, sir.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
In
Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
In Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's use this as an example. Now, Rudy Giuliani. Did you have an opinion about him when he was mayor?
Yeah, I hated the stop and frisk.
Yeah, he did stop and frisk. That I can appreciate.
Me too.
But he did clean up
Oh, yeah, he got rid of a lot of drug dealers.
the city. He cleaned the city
did.
up. At Times Square, you could walk down there without stepping over homeless people or dead people or whatever.
Human feces.
theaters and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And now Bill de Blasio's come back in there, and it's headed right back down to where it was in the early 80s. Have you noticed that? Do people in New York feel that way?
Well, I know. I mean, all my family's moving away from it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bloomberg did. So Giuliani cleaned it up. Bloomberg did turn it back into a business, which he was really smart to do. But he also priced out a lot of people. So a lot of people can't afford to live in New York anymore. De Blasio, I'm not there right now, so I don't know what he's doing. I can see what he's doing, but like I said, my family's leaving, and I don't like him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you got police departments that are coming out on Twitter with official statements saying we don't support you, I mean, you could do it something wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, that's problematic. So,
Yeah.
the point I'm getting to is this Democratic run inner city problem. It's not okay. So you take Bill de Blasio. That's a white guy. All right. We talk about Elijah Cummings. We could talk about. And then Eric Swalwell, who's going to come out over the weekend, he's going to blast Trump about. I'm like, dude, stay in your lane, bro. Why don't you deal with your spot, which is a dump in California? Right. Why don't you and Nancy Pelosi? I mean, y'all going to deal with, look at Houston. When's Sheila Jackson Lee going to get her shit together? I mean, this is, stop appropriating my culture, Sheila.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Quit appropriating my cowboy hat culture.
There it is. Yeah. See,
Boom.
I just saw an article where you can rent a bunk bed. Rent a bunk bed in San Francisco, in Nancy Pelosi world, for $1,700 a month. That is your abode. It's a bunk bed. And so if you really care about people and you're going to go on and rail about the richest 1%, then again, this goes both ways. Whether we're talking about extreme poverty or extreme affluence, then focus on your district. Instead of just about it to a camera, go to your own districts and talk about the quality of life and the cost of living in these districts. But it's absolutely mad. So that's two extremes there. Yeah. You've got Pelosi representing the ultra rich. You've got Elijah Cummings representing the ultra poor, if you will. And you guys could work together instead of just turning your guns on Trump.
Yeah. Well, I saw there was one guy on Twitter, he's a comedian, who said, look, I grew up there for 27 years in Baltimore. If you come up with a plan and you need whatever, I'll show up. I'll be there to help. And then people were blasting him saying, you're a white male. How? And there were white people blasting him. You're a white male. How can you go in there and help? Well, first of all, you just assume the race of people that are living in these communities. Nothing was said about race. Just said, I'm here and willing to help. It was home for me. I grew up there 27 years. And now I've got this career, but I'll come back and help in any way that I can. That's the deal right there. That's the stupid thing. And let me tell you guys something else, by the way. First of all, I know people know Sean and Bougie and all that. Look, we don't travel in packs of conservatives. We don't think like that. Like, I like open ideas. I like open. He's not a Republican, not a conservative per se, and that's okay. But he's got common damn sense. Which is what I love about
exactly.
you.
Sometimes.
Which is what I love about you. I sat around my house all day waiting on you to get there because I missed you so bad. And then we hugged.
You know what? And I've invited him out for drinks multiple times.
Yeah.
And he continues to stand me up.
Nobody can find your house.
No, that's not fair. That's Pat's house. That's
Pat's
lost.
house.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, but no, that's serious. I'm not a Republican. Never have been. I've never signed on a party line. I've never have and never will.
It's not about being Republican or not. I mean, Baltimore sucks.
It sucks.
I mean, just be honest with it. I've never been to Baltimore because I don't want to go there. I've always wanted to go to see the Yankees versus the Orioles. And I remember it's like, I'll go to Baltimore. People said, don't go to Baltimore.
Don't go to Baltimore.
Go to the stadium, but don't go outside. I mean, it's the same thing like the Bronx. You don't go to Yankee Stadium and say, hey, I'm going to hang around Yankee Stadium unless you know you know the neighborhood. Is it wrong for somebody to say don't hang around there? Yeah, it is rat infested. It's a city. There's rats everywhere in New York City. If somebody said the same thing about New York City, are you going to be butthurt about it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the deal. I mean, you talk about sewer rats, and they got big old, like, rat tongs they're holding these rats with. I mean, have you seen these big old grippers? They get these things around the body, and they're holding them out, these rats in Baltimore. And I mean, it's nasty, dude.
I got to see that.
You know what I need to do? I want to make a meme of Joe Biden snuggled up behind a rat. That's what we need to do.
What about behind Chuck E. Cheese? With Welcome to Baltimore.
Even better.
It's a good meme
We're in the
right
Baltimore
there.
Orioles.
It's a good meme. I like it.
Jersey.
We'll do it. And I want to tell you guys something. We're going to close on this, and I hope this offends you, and I hope it does it enough that it will make you think about it. Poverty is a spirit and a mindset. It is not a physical condition. Listen to what I'm telling you. Can people live in poverty? Yes, that is a physical thing. But I promise you, poverty is a spirit and a mental condition. I can give you $1 million. If you have a poverty mindset, you will be in poverty again in the space of a year. You will. Because money, the physical thing, does not change that spiritual, mental mindset of impoverishment. It doesn't. So you can throw all the money you want to at Baltimore. People have been brainwashed that they're supposed to be poor, that they are supposed to be unsuccessful, that they're supposed to live in squalor and filth. They don't know any different, and they believe that is their lot in life. It's a caste system that is absolutely, abjectly evil. And I'm telling you, that's what's got to change, is the mindset. So stop all this garbage crap about you're this color, that color. Stop fighting a spiritual battle with physical arguments. It doesn't work. Okay, Keith Malinak, Special Keith, Bougie Sean, Party Foul Steve, Candice the Queen of the Ethiopians, and Puppet Master Mark. I'm sorry, I almost insulted you by calling you Party Foul.
I was really hurt for a second there.
Wow.
Man.
Go to watchchad.com. Go to blazetv.com/humor. Watch all the episodes of Humor Meek because it's funny. We love y'all. God bless. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.